Okay, so here we are, and just first of all, I'm relying on the floor mic. Can everybody hear me okay? Yeah? Okay, thumbs up. Very good. Yeah, so it's 8:30 and it's time for our closing ceremony, and we'll just wait for one more minute. I'll wait while people might still be showing up. And one appreciation I forgot to mention actually last night, as I was beginning the talk last night, I was thinking of thank yous and appreciations coming up, and one that I had thought of before but forgot to mention last night was an immense appreciation for IRC, for Insight Retreat Center, for offering their Zoom account for this retreat. We had initially thought maybe to get one for Abhayagiri, and it turned out it was going to be a little bit complicated. And then kind of interesting to see the way generosity works. It's like, so then Kathy was like, no, I want to upgrade my Zoom account to offer for the retreat. And then we said, well, normally we spend $40,000 to rent a retreat center. So yeah, that's nothing for us to maybe reimburse you, the monastery to reimburse. And she said, no, I'd like to offer it. But then before she could offer it, then IRC offered it. So she offered, and then it was offered from from IRC. So that's kind of how it works. IRC, the Insight Retreat Center. I mentioned that too, just at the beginning. And that's, Kathy was talking about where she lives in the announcements. And so as we do at the end of a 8-precept retreat, we generally end it with taking refuges and the 3 refuges and the 5 precepts. And we'll have someone from our end here leading that. And for anybody who would like to follow along, that's on page 126 in the chanting book. And so, Nan, you can come up.
Mayam bante tisaranena saha panchasilani yajama tutiyampi mayam bante tisaranena saha panchasilani yajama tatiyampi mayam bante tisaranena saha Panchasilani yajama.
And so people can repeat after me. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato sama sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato sama sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa.
Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato Samma Sambuddhassa.
Buddhaṃ saranang gacchami.
Buddhang saranang gacchami.
Dhammang saranang gacchami.
Dhammang saranang gacchami.
Sanghang saranang gacchami.
Sanghang saranang gacchami.
Dutiyampi Buddhang saranang gacchami.
Dutiyampi Buddhang saranang gacchami.
Dutiyampi Dhammang saranang gacchami.
Dutiyampi Dhammang saranang gacchami.
Dutiyampi Sanghang saranang gacchami.
Dutiyampi Sanghang saranang gacchami.
Tatiyampi Buddhang saranang gacchami.
Tatiyampi Buddhang saranang gacchami.
Tatiyampi Dhammang saranang gacchami.
Tatiyampi Dhammang saranang gacchami.
Tatiyampi Sanghang saranang gacchami.
Tatiyampi Sanghang saranang gacchami.
Ti saranakamanang nititang.
Ama Bante.
Panatipata Veramani Sikkhapadang Samadhiyami.
Panatipata Veramani Sikkhapadang Samadhiyami.
I undertake the precept to refrain from taking the life of any living creature.
I don't take the precept to refrain from taking the life of any living creature.
Adina dana Veramani Sikkhapadang Samadhiyami.
Adina dana Veramani Sikkhapadang Samadhiyami.
I undertake the precept to refrain from taking that which is not given.
I undertake the precept to refrain from taking that which is not given.
Kame sumichachara Veramani Sikkhapadang Samadhiyami.
Kame sumichachara Veramani Sikkhapadang Samadhiyami.
I undertake the precept to refrain from sexual misconduct.
I undertake the precept to refrain from sexual misconduct.
Musawada Veramani Sikkhapadang Samadhiyami.
Musawada Veramani Sikkhapadang Samadhiyami.
I undertake the precept to refrain from lying.
I undertake the precept to refrain from lying.
Sura meraya majapamadadana Veramani Sikkhapadang Samadhiyami.
Sura meraya macha pamatatana Veramani Sikkhapadang Samadhiyami.
I undertake the precept to refrain from consuming intoxicating drink and drugs which lead to carelessness.
I undertake the precept to refrain from consuming intoxicating drink and drug which leads to carelessness.
Imani pancha sikkhapadani silena sugating yante silena boga sampada silena nibbutting yanti tasama silang visotaye.
Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu.
Thank you. So the next part of this closing ceremony, traditional that we do at the end of a retreat, is Paritta chanting. Paritta means protection, and so armed with the protection of the armor of the 5 precepts and the Paritta chanting, then we can, the Buddha said, virtue is the best protection, sila is the best protection. And so, Paritta, a few of these chants that we're going to do, and it won't be exhaustive, but we'll do a few key chants. And some of them are like we do like the Mangala Sutta, which is a progression of the path and the 38 highest blessings that the Buddha talks about, and the Karaniya Metta Sutta, which we've chanted in English during this retreat. This is what should be done by one who is skilled in goodness. So doing that in Pali, and that's the spreading of goodwill, and also the Ratana Sutta. The Ratana Sutta is, according to the suttas and commentaries, against pandemics, actually, so it's a good one to be doing now. And for anybody who wants to learn more about these suttas and other traditional chants that we do, in the Bhikkhu Bodhi's new translation of the Sutta Nipata, he also translated the commentary, so there's these stories, particularly the story of the Ratana Sutta is quite interesting. And these are also traditional chants that are done in both Thailand and Sri Lanka. And it generally starts with, someone will do the chant called Inviting the Devas, and that's inviting the forces of goodness to come and partake and bear witness to this occasion. And and then the chanting will be done. And when you're listening to the chanting, it's more like holding it as a meditation and letting it sort of wash over you. And then we can also give rise to wholesome aspirations, wholesome intentions to keep our practice going and develop in our Dhamma life in the best way possible. And so at this point then I would ask if Ajahn Karunadhammo could call the Devas.
Paritva namehetang sumeheta badanda Awikita citta paritang banandhu Sage kamme charupe Girisikaratate chantarike vimahane Dipe rate jagamme Taruvanagahane gehawatu mikete Umma chayandu deva Jalatala visameyaka gandhabanaga Titanta santike yang muniwara vachanang sadhavo me sunahandu Buddha dasana kalo ayang baranda Dhamma savana kalo ayang baranda Sangha pairupasana kalo ayang baranda
Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Buddhang saranang gacchami, dhammang saranang gacchami, sanghang saranang gacchami, dutiyampi buddhang saranang gacchami, dutiyampi dhammang saranang gacchami, dutiyampi sanghang saranang gacchami, tatiyampi buddhang saranang gacchami, tatiyampi dhammang saranang gacchami, tatiyampi sanghang saranang gacchami. Yocha
สสะตุดาเสสิโลกาสวิสุทธิมารังนิยานิโคตังมัตตราสดาริสัตตาวะโหสันติกโรสุจินโนธัมมังวรันตังศิรสานะมามิโมหะปัตตาลังอุปสันตดาหังคันเตจะสาเทจยสิริโหตุสาบันทรายาจวินาสเมนตุสาธัมมเสนาสุกตานุโกโยโลกาสภาปุปกิเลสเจตาสันโตสยังสันตินิโยจักโกจะสวากาตธัมมังวิริตังกโรติสังฆังวรันตังศิรสานะมามิพุทธานุพุทธังสัมมาสีลติติคันเตจะสาเทจยสิริโหตุสาบันทรายาจวินาสเมนตุนะโมอะระหะโตสัมมาสัมพุทธัสสะมะเอสิโนนะโมพุทธมะธัมมาสสวากาตาเสวะเทนิตนะโมมหาสังฆัสสะปิวิสุทธัสสิลติติโนนะโมโอมาตยาราตัสสะรัตนาตยาสัสสะดุขังนะโมโอมะคาติตาสัทธาสวะตุตยาสปินะโมคาราปะปาเวนะวิกาจันตุอุปาทวานะโมคารานุภาเวนะสุวัติโหตุสัพพะนะนะโมคาราสะเทเจนะเวเดมิโหมิเทชวาเสวนาชบัลลานังปันติทานังจะเสวนาปูจาจะปูจนิยานังเอตัมมังกลมุตตมังปฏิรูปเตสวาโสจะปุเรจะกตปุญญาตาอัตตสัมมาปณินิจเอตัมมังกลมุตตมังบาหุสาจันจะสิปัญจเวนโยจะสุสิกิโตสุปาสิตาจะยาวาจาเอตัมมังกลมุตตมังมาตาปิตุปาตานังพุทธดาราสสังฆา สัมมาดินาเทนะสัมโมนะวิจตินัมวิกัมเนรัตนังคณิตังเอเทนะสัจเจนะสุวัติโหตุเยโภกลาอาทัสสตังปัสสะตาจัตตาริเยธานิยุกานิโหติเตดากินัยยะสุรทาสสาวกาเอเทสุตินดานิมหาปลังนิรังนิสังเกรัตนังคณิตังเอเทนะสัจเจนะสุวัติโหตุเยสุปยุตตามนัสสะดาเทนะเนกามิโนโกตัมมัสสะสนามิเตปาติปาตะอมตังวิกายลาดามุลานิปุติปุญจมานะอิดัมปิสังเกรัตนังคณิตังเอเทนะสัจเจนะสุวัติโหตุขีนังปุรานังนวันนาติสัมภวังวิราชเจตายติเคภวะสมิงเทกีนาปิจาภวิโรหิชันดานิปันติติราเยทายังปริโภอิดัมปิสังเกรัตนังคณิตังเอเทนะสัจเจนะสุวัติโหตุโอจังโกสัตติสังฆโตธัมมานังวิทโยตถาวิริยังปิติปัสสะติโพจังกาจัตตาปะเรสมาลุเทกโพจังกาสัทเทเตสัพพดาสินามุนินาสัมมดากาตาภาวิตาภาหุลิกตาสังวัฏันติอภิญญายนิพพานายจโพธิยาเอเทนะสัจวัจเจนะโสติเตโหตุสัพพตาเอกัสมิงสมัยนะโตโมลาลานันจักขัสสะปังวิลาเนตุกิเตติสวะโพจังเกสันตเนสริเตจตังอภินันติตวะโรกามุชิงสุตังกเนเอเทนะสัจวัจเจนะโสติเตโหตุสัพพตาเอกตาธัมมราชาภิเกลัญเยนาภิปิลิโตจุนดาเทเรนะทัญเยวะปนาเปตวานัสสะนรังสัมโมทิตวะจามาตาธัมมาโวทาสิทานโสเอเทนะสัจวัจเจนะโสติเตโหตุสัพพตาภะหินาเทจามาตาทินานังนิมาเหสินังมากาอัตตกิเลสาวะปัตตานุปัฏฐินัมมตังเอเทนะสัจวัจเจนะโสติเตโหตุสัพพตาทุกขปาตาชนิ sujaya mangale aparajita palanke si saripata vipokare abhiseke sabaputana agapato pamo ratisunakatang sumangalang supapatang suhotitang sukano sumuhuto jasuyitang brahmachari supadakinang kaya kammang vaca kammang badakinang mano kammang panidite badakina nikatwana lamantate badakine.
So now I'd please invite Lumpur Pasano to give closing teachings, closing reflections. I've got it.
Okay, so whatever has a beginning has an ending, whatever rises passes away. So this is the passing away of the Thanksgiving retreat 2020. Brand new experience, online retreat, and just certainly like to express a lot of gratitude, appreciation to Ajahn Yaniko and Kathy for doing a lot of the coordinating and making it all happen. The kind of the tech people here, and community members who plugged in, and then of course all of you who joined. It's quite inspiring, really, to see people making the effort to join this Thanksgiving retreat. We had no idea really what we were doing or what was going to happen, and I'm quite impressed, inspired by the dedication of all the people who plugged in, were present. It's not a small number of people, and also people were quite consistent, and that's a wonderful thing, because that's Ajahn Chai used to emphasize over and over again, because it's not so much of how, say, spectacularly diligent one can be from time to time, but more how consistent we can be. That is what really is transformative, and it really makes a huge difference in our life and in our practice. So that just acknowledging people's dedication and consistency, and hope that it's an encouragement to recognize the fruits of the practice, so that one follows through. And of course, the follow through is that's where drawing close to teachings, drawing close to good spiritual friendships. That's what really helps. Tremendous support for the ongoing practice, the continuity of practice. So to there's recognizing that there are the supports for practice out there. I mean, it's I think the part of the announcements were some of the ongoing things that are happening with us, but then also recognizing that there's a whole world out there of practitioners who are and teachers who are making their teachings available, and just learning how to plug in and avail oneself of the resources that are there, and that sense of just drawing close to the teachings. And then also kind of recognizing the range of things that encompass practice, and hopefully that's part of what a monastic retreat has helped to do, or certainly. Say the Abhayagiri monastic retreat, the format that we've done, recognizing that there's a range of things that we can rely on as a part of our practice, training, learning. It's like the morning chanting, evening chanting. Those are supports for practice. Chi Gong practice. Of course, the sitting meditation, walking meditation, standing meditation. Those are parts of listening to Dhamma. Researching and studying the Dhamma, so that all of those are supports. It's like the Buddha talked about the different ways that one can, say, realize awakening, and the very first one is say, like, hearing the Dhamma. It's just listening to Dhamma. Of course, nowadays there's so much available to listen to, But it's not just sort of getting a bit more information to sort of pad out one's knowledge, but it's more that hearing the Dhamma so that it one taking it into the heart and allowing that hearing of the Dhamma to help to transform the heart. And if one familiar with the suttas, it just is in so many places. That is the catalyst for both monastics and lay people for entering the stream of Dhamma, having the realization of Dhamma that as it puts one on the in that field of awakening, so that it's like I would say Ajahn Yaniko last night talking about Anathapindika and going to see the Dhamma, see the Buddha, and then the Buddha giving some instruction, and then Anathapindika realizing stream entry. So he wasn't sort of sitting there meditating, he was listening to the Buddha's teachings and hearing it and allowing it into the heart. So that hearing the Dhamma is a quite primary importance, really. Another aspect is actually teaching the Dhamma, and one can get all sorts of ideas of teaching the Dhamma, but so just being able to, like, and certainly in terms of, like, if you have to explain something to somebody, it makes one contemplate it a bit more thoroughly, and it doesn't mean one has to be, say, up on the high Dhamma seat and being in a formal place, but so even teaching Dhamma or explaining Dhamma to friends, relatives, and that having that Dhamma discussion with each other, that can be a really important catalyst. It's not sort of trying to, and especially when it's approached skillfully, in the sense that one's not trying to score points. There's a great idioms in the suttas of some of these. The Buddha going to the places where other religious seekers are gathering, or even it's actually even sometimes in, say, in the Sangha itself, where there's kind of like a competition to sort of I scored a point over you, or you're defeated, and it's that's really not a best that if you can. So that is not the way to teach Dhamma. I mean, it's sort of like, but in terms of that explaining and teaching, and one is just eliciting that heart of respect for the Dhamma, and then contemplating it and clarifying it so that one can to pass it on to others, and so that we all have situations like that. It doesn't say just as one becomes a monk and ends up after 10 years having to teach. It's just the in part of practice and sharing, so that teaching the Dhamma. And there's examples of that, plenty of examples of that in the suttas where somebody is teaching and they have a probably the most in my pops up in my memory. I think it's Kemika, where he's actually sick, and he's asked a question by a monk, the senior monks, sort of send somebody to go and ask a question of him, and then it's fairly long, but anyway, the Kemika comes and the group of senior monks, and then they start having this conversation back and forth and clarifying, and the outcome of it is understanding. He himself becomes fully awakened, and then a whole large group of other monastics also became awakened. So it's a very fruitful Dhamma discussion. Another, just say like chanting the Dhamma. When we like reciting the Dhamma, as it becomes, as you chant it, recite it, it becomes committed to memory. It becomes familiar, and then you find it popping up in the mind as a reflection, or it's familiar to one, and a circumstance arises, and the thought forms around an aspect of Dhamma. That's because of the familiarizing oneself through the chanting of various Dhamma themes, and as we say through this 10-day retreat, and we did, of course, the regular pujas, but then the Anapanasati Sutta, the whole discourse on mindfulness of breathing, recollection of the Eightfold Path and all of its factors, how it's explained, the first teaching of the Buddha, the last teaching of the Buddha. Those are all sorts of different teachings have been so when we chant them, they become familiar. They become integral, and this is how. It's how perception, like sanya, the aggregate of sanya. Sanya is perception, memory, but also a kind of recognition and also a giving of meaning. In the Thai language, when the sanya is the aggregate of perception is defined, one of its integral aspects of the definition is giving importance and meaning, samkhan manmai, and it's because that's how memory, association, recognition. We also place an importance and meaning in certain things, so that through the like chanting, it becomes you start. It seeps into into the sort of deeper recesses of the heart, and that is a really important thing. Contemplating the Dhamma, lifting up themes of reflection, bringing them to mind, consciously reflecting, consciously investigating, contemplating the Dhamma. So picking up themes of the teachings, and using them as themes of investigation. One starts to penetrate and to see things for oneself more clearly. It's not just kind of I'll read a Dhamma book or listen to a talk from once in a while, and maybe something will happen. We have to actively lift things up in the mind to contemplate, to reflect. And this is Ajahn Chah used to place a lot of importance on this sense of investigation. It's not just trying to kind of annihilate thought and being a catalyst into awakening somehow, sort of magical thinking. Because we have a kind of fraught relationship with our minds and our thoughts, our thinking processes. I mean, we tend to relate on a fairly basic axiom, kind of assumption. So I think, therefore I suffer. If only I didn't think, then I wouldn't suffer. Which is, that's kind of delusional. But we have to learn how to think, to contemplate, to investigate, to reflect, and that's a primary quality that the Buddha places importance on. This in the Pali, yoniso manasikara, this wise attention, skillful reflection, considered attention. And the image that the Buddha gives is like recognizing when this yoniso manasikara arises, is that he compares it to in the early dawn, as the light one notices the light changing in the early dawn. One has this confidence that the new day is coming to be, the light is coming, and in the same way, when the Buddha says, when one recognizes that yoniso manasikara, this wise attention, is arising, it's an harbinger of the Noble Eightfold Path coming into being, this path starting to coalesce, starting to function. So that contemplating the Dhamma as a basis for awakening, and then the last one that the Buddha says is a basis of awakening is, say, meditation itself. Is that cultivation of still mind, the heart. So these are, and they all work together. And it isn't as if one is better than the other. We have to learn how to become skillful. Retreat. There's been a variety of teachings been given on and giving various and learning how to become skillful with those. as we transition from retreat to our daily life, say how we began this ceremony was really, say, foundational, fundamental. Refuges and precepts. It's so, just so important. And it's easily overlooked because we take it for granted or think it's ordinary. But that sense of cultivation or contemplation, recollection, and establishing one, trying to cultivate a kind of like a heart quality, a towards. It's not just a conceptualizing, but it's sort of again we're trying to bring everything back to experience. What's the experience of having a refuge? And there's two words that are used over and over again in say in traditional Buddhist perspective in the relationship or the description of Buddha, Dhamma, and Sangha. The primary one is refuge. So refuge, a place of safety, a place of rest, a place of like a safe harbor, and so that sense of going for refuge, and to actually contemplate, because we in reality, say as human beings, the way the mind works is we look to take refuge in something all the time. We're in terms of what do we rely on? What do we depend on? What is our go-to preference in any given moment? It isn't Buddha, Dhamma, and Sangha. It's usually, go to our various devices, or a phone, or the iPad, or computer, or whatever. And go to the fridge. Go whatever. Looking for some sort of comfort somewhere. It's pretty basic. What is usually is something that's kind of distracting and maybe somewhat comforting, but it isn't really a refuge. So that sense of appreciation of how Buddha, Dhamma, and Sangha, as we explore it and open the heart, that it really becomes a refuge for the heart. And the other word that is used to describe the say Buddha, Dhamma, Sangha traditionally is, say, like and we chanted in the Parittas, the Ratana Sutta, so that the Ratana is a jewel, a precious gem, something really precious. And so that the Buddha, Dhamma, and Sangha really seen as something precious, something of tremendous value, not our perception of the world around us. It makes sense of the world. It's a tremendous, just this priceless gem. So that there's this recollection of Buddha, Dhamma, and Sangha as both being, being a refuge and as being something that is very precious. There's a Dhammapada verse that comes to mind that to me kind of exemplifies that. The Sukho Buddhanumubhado Sukha Saddhammadesana Sukha Sanghanang Samakinang Tapo Sukho. So happy is the arising of the Buddha. Happy is the teaching of the good Dhamma. Are happy. And so that in terms of, this is where the refuges are. Again, if it's too conceptualized and externalized, it becomes kind of cold and distant. But this it's really a foundation for true happiness, and to be able to have these tools are available to us. These refuges are available to us, and they are this is the means by which we can really foster and establish a sense of just happiness and well-being. That is that really everybody is seeking. Everybody is wants to be happy. Everybody. It's fundamental to all life form. And it isn't that mosquito has got it in for you, or has got this elaborate plan of making you miserable. They just want to be happy, and they just want to get by with what mosquitoes do. And it's human beings, we might have a bit more complicated motives than that, but it's not that much more, really. So that sense of recognizing that okay, we're seeking happiness. Where do we, if we're really seeking happiness, where do we want to find it? Where do you think? Where will we actually realize it? So this is happy is the arising of the Buddha. Happy is the teaching. Those who are harmoniously practicing together, this is happiness indeed. And so we've had this opportunity, and it's learning how to bring that out into the world around us, and to carry that with us. And there's a lot of I think something else is that's really important in terms of a perspective and approach to practicing Dhamma. It is not about attaining, achieving, becoming. It's more around being and to recognize and this sense of letting go, just releasing the grip of our grasping. So that, of course, that's really what I say the catalyst of happiness is life in letting go. That letting go, and particularly living in the world. It's just, the world has always been complicated and messy, and it's what it is. But say the Buddha is giving us the tools to live skillfully and to be careful for ourselves of how much we judge ourselves, judge others, judge the world around us. That we rely on is compassion, is kindness and compassion. And it's kindness and compassion towards ourselves, kindness and compassion towards others. And it what comes to mind is a story Luang Por Sumedho told of when he's living with Ajahn Chah, and some advice that Ajahn Chah gave him, and just the example that Ajahn Chah said. Ajahn Sumedho, when he was a newly ordained monk, met a monk who, because he didn't ordain or begin his training with Ajahn Chah. He was up in the northern part of the north for a year, I think, and practicing very diligently. And then a monk came and visited, and that monk was from Wat Pah Pong, from a student of Ajahn Chah's, and he was somebody who was he had some education. He was from a very well-to-do family in that area, and so he had some English, so he was able to communicate with Ajahn Sumedho, and so he told him about Ajahn Chah, told him about Wat Pah Pong and Ajahn, and Ajahn Sumedho saw this monk as somebody who was really quite different in terms of very composed, seemed to have a real foundation in training. He wasn't that senior, but I think he was maybe 2-3 years as a monk. That's what inspired Ajahn Sumedho to go and live and train with Ajahn Chah. And then this particular monk, his name was Somai. Somai, of course, also went back to Wat Pah Pong. And then after a period of time, I'm not sure how long, a year, a couple of years, after that, then he disrobed, left the robes, and ended up in pretty desperate circumstances in terms of his alcoholic, kind of inner. Every once in a while, Ajahn Sumedho would meet him or see him, and it was really upsetting and disappointing, and one time, kind of complaining to Ajahn Chah and being very critical of Somai, and Luang Por Chah was incredibly kind. He said, don't. get caught in that kind of criticism and negativity. You don't know people's as a somebody who you think you should criticize or get upset by. You should always relate to him as, this is the person who brought me here. You should always relate to him as that goodness, that good fortune that you received was dependent on Somai, and that to relate to him out of gratitude and appreciation. And whenever you meet him, always address him as Ajahn, as teacher. He was your first teacher. Always relate to him as Ajahn. So, and then whenever Somai, because he lived in Ubon and he stayed mostly at a monastery in town, and he was always had difficulty. He was up and down, with addictions and whatnot. But whenever Ajahn Sumedho would see him, I mean, he'd address him as Ajahn, and Somai would always brighten. It was always a reminder of that goodness that was it was a real gift. So that it's easy. It doesn't take that much wisdom to criticize all the things that are wrong with the world or wrong with yourself or wrong with others. That doesn't take a whole lot of wisdom. But to see the good in yourself and others and relate to yourself, others, and the world with compassion and sort of non-judgmental. It doesn't mean we don't assess things clearly, but not getting caught in that which is truly good, that leads to well-being and happiness. So that as we end this retreat, just to encourage us all to just keep returning to these refuges. Don't make things too complicated or difficult for oneself, and recognize if we have that foundation, good things will happen. So I wish everyone the best, and again, just to express my delight at everybody's participation, and wish everybody well into the future. So maybe what we do is just ask the Sangha to give a blessing, a formal blessing. This will be the kind of formal end, and then we'll see what happens. Who knows what it will be. So we'll offer this blessing. Yep.
Sukhi dikayuko bhava, amriva เทวตาสัมมาสังฆานุภาเวนัสสะโสติภาวันตุเต
Just before we do closing homage to Buddha Dhamma Sangha and transition to the breakout rooms in 10 minutes, also just to mention that this retreat was recorded via YouTube live stream, so that it's on our YouTube channel. You can check out the links in the info page that Kathy has sent out for anybody who wants to revisit any of the retreat or download any of the talks, anything like that. That's where you'll be able to find it.